Today is December 17th, and this morning at 12:05, Star Wars The Force Awakens was released. I wasn't blown away, but it wasn't a crushing disappointment either. It was just different. There will be some spoilers, but I won't be giving anything major away if you still haven't seen the movie. Luke Skywalker has gone missing. He's being hunted by a faction called the New Order, kind of an Imperial tribute act, I guess, who are obsessed with hunting him down and killing him as the last Jedi. Leia, in the meantime, has become the leader of the resistance against this New Order, and she has sent ace fighter pilot Poe Dameron to track down Luke. The movie opens with Poe being given a map of Luke's whereabouts. Just before the New Order stormtroopers turn up, led by Rilo Ken. He's the villain in the movie. Just before he's captured, Poe manages to give the map to his BB-8 droid, who of course you've seen in the trailer. One of Ren's stormtroopers, clearly not that fussed on being ordered to murder civilians, decides he's going to desert. So he frees Poe and the two of them make their escape in a TIE fighter. They're shot down and they crash land back on the planet Jakku. Finn, the deserting stormtrooper, staggers away from the wreckage and manages to find his way into town, where he bumps into Rey. She's a local scavenger who's lived on Jakku on her own for a while, clearly, and she's been waiting for her family to return. Anyway, she's the one that's found BB-8. So Finn manages to convince her that they should take the droid and try and complete Poe's mission by taking the map back to the Resistance. Of course, they're spotted, stormtroopers show up, so they make their escape on the only available ship, which of course turns out to be the Millennium Falcon. Shortly after that, they're captured by some kind of salvage ship, only for it to turn out that it belongs to Han Solo and Chewbacca, who are out there trying to track down the Millennium Falcon.
We're home.
Yeah, this is one of the two major flaws that I think exist in the plot of this movie, and that's that the Millennium Falcon just happens to be there in the scrapyard, and then they just happen to get picked up by Han and Chewie. Sure, Han and Chewie are looking for the Millennium Falcon, and sure, they have this little backstory of how the Millennium Falcon ended up on Jakku, but it actually bears no relation to what any of the other characters were doing there, and it just seems to be this whole ridiculous coincidence. Like they didn't bother to have a good story reason for Han Solo and Chewbacca to turn up and for the Millennium Falcon to be there. It's just, it bothered me. So after this kind of silly and pointless sequence with some gangsters on the salvage ship, which is just, Han and Chewie join up with Finn and BB-8 and Rey to take the map to the Resistance. Obviously, the map that BB-8 is carrying of Luke's whereabouts is the MacGuffin for the story, kind of like the Death Star plans that R2 had in A New Hope. It's the thing that everyone wants that, motivates the plot. Except, this is where the second big flaw comes in. The MacGuffin has absolutely nothing to do with the climax of the movie. It's actually a while into the movie, after we've got into the whole New Order storyline, that we discovered that they have this super weapon that they're just waiting to use, that none of the Resistance or any of the kind of good guys really know about, except Finn because he was a stormtrooper. Really, the map of Luke's whereabouts and Luke himself bear absolutely no relation to this. This map is just kind of left to the side and forgotten about, despite the fact that it was the central focus of the plot up to this point. So what happens in the third act of the film is they end up changing the entire central dramatic question from will they find Luke Skywalker before the New Order does, to will they be able to destroy the Star Killer before it kills their star? The thing is with the MacGuffin is that if you're going to use that as the motivator for your story, it basically needs to motivate the whole plot the whole way through the movie. If we look at the Death Star plans in A New Hope, everything that they do, getting a ship at Mos Eisley, flying to Alderaan, escaping the Death Star, rescuing Leia, basically all serve to bring the Death Star schematics to the rebels, so they can come up with this plan to destroy the Death Star just before it destroys their base. They all go to serve that same goal, that central dramatic question of, will we be able to destroy the Death Star before the Death Star destroys us? Again, it just kind of threw me. It's just this kind of emotional disconnect where it's something that you're supposed to really care about, you kind of have to leave to the side for a while. And care about this other thing, which, I don't know, it just didn't seem to be introduced all that well because nobody knew or cared about it until actually quite late on in the movie. apart from these two glaring things, I mean, I loved it. I really liked it. It was a really good movie. The characters were great. They used the old characters well in the plot, but the story absolutely belonged to these new characters who were interesting and fun, and I liked them. I don't want to get into any spoilers, but I thought Rilo Ken was a really good villain. There are obvious similarities to Vader, which are, you know, intentional, but they really highlight the ways he's very different to Darth Vader as well, and I think that's what makes him really interesting. He has his own kind of force power thing. Darth Vader had the strangling, the Emperor had the lightning, and, you know, Rilo Ken has his own thing. I won't spoil that for you. One of the things that struck me about it as well is that it's really clearly a J.J. Abrams film. This isn't a George Lucas Star Wars film, it's a J.J. Abrams Star Wars film. And he brings kind of his own style to it, particularly with his very dynamic moving camera. He also brings his slightly more manic sense of humour, particularly to the dialogue. You know, it might be a bit of an aesthetic departure from the original films, but then the prequels did that as well, not necessarily in a good way. So I think this is just, you know, it's a new trilogy, it gets a new look. And it is a great looking film. Computer generated imagery has really come a long way since the prequels, which are looking pretty dated now. And I think J.J. Abrams did a great job of integrating them in with the more practical effects and the live action and the real sets and costumes and props. The action scenes in particular I thought were really engaging, they were really well done. They weren't overblown, they weren't overlong, and they kept the story moving nicely. I really liked that he held off on the lightsaber duel to the real emotional climax of the movie. It's not Jedi jumping all over the place, waving lightsabers at each other and doing impressive martial arts. It's back to the kind of one-on-one combat of the original trilogy where the lightsaber duels meant something. It wasn't just two people fighting, trying to kill each other. There's a lot more complex emotions and questions of identity going on, and I think that's one of the ways that he was really true to the original Star Wars films. At the end of the day, it's not A New Hope. It's not The Empire Strikes Back, and it's not Return of the Jedi. But it's not the prequels either. It doesn't hit me in the same way the original trilogy does, but at this stage, they're kind of like old friends to me. The important thing is that I'm definitely going to see it again. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the subscribe button, and, you know, maybe I'll find time to do a few more of these. I enjoyed it.